What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about American stereotypes that Irish people believe. We're going to be telling you if these are true or false in our eyes. So let's start with number one. Number one is fat, which right away I would just say true. I think it has to do with, obviously, we have fast food almost on every corner where you drive. So a lot of people just eat out a lot. There's a lot of restaurants. I don't even really have to say anything. I'm just gonna say true.
Yep, we love our food. I said this in a previous video, but I grew up in, I think, like the number 1 or 2 most obese city in America, which has to be probably up there in the world as well. A lot of good Mexican food down there, but it is really bad for your health.
I will say though, there is a lot of people that are very healthy and love going to the gym and staying healthy. So no, not everyone's fat, but there is tons of people that are bigger here.
That leads us into number 2. The average American is very loud, and not just when you're recording a YouTube video, but when you're just out and about. What do you have to say about that one?
I would say that's true and false. It depends on who you meet, who you're around. I would say I'm definitely very shy, even hanging out with friends. Like, I'm not the one to be yelling and like, I don't know, I'm still very reserved and I just talk normally, I guess. I don't yell.
To add on, I agree with Lauren. I think it's partially true. We know that Americans tend to be pretty loud, especially in the cities. In the California, you get that very shrill, very loud California girl accent. Oh my gosh, yes, wow, what are you doing? Yeah, oh my God. That type of thing. So I'm sure that happens all the time when they visit Europe.
And I did see a quote that said, "You'd hear them before you see them." On to number 3, abundance and portion size.
It is definitely true. You would say the same, right?
Yes.
It's definitely true that everything is bigger. I mean, the state I'm from, Texas, is the slogan is everything's bigger in Texas. And America kind of has that slogan too. It's kind of like, if you can make it bigger, why not? Our vehicles, our roads, once you get further west, our buildings, just pretty much everything, our people. You guys know when you go to restaurants here, food portions a lot larger, free refills, tons of water.
I will say I have a few things in mind. Costco, that's for super big bulk items, usually for bigger families, but I've seen people that are single that shop there that like go to the gym and buy in bulk. I've seen tons of comments on mini TikToks of, I forgot what they're called. Oh, cheese balls. You know that big thing?
Yeah.
They always comment like, do you eat that in one sitting? Because wouldn't they go stale? But
Depends on the person.
yeah.
Also, a lot of waste because of that. That's the unfortunate part.
I did want to insert a clip right here of when we went to Buc-ee's and our brisket sandwich. That just shows you, look how big it is. Like, I think it's extremely big.
For sure.
Everything's bigger in Texas.
That's true. I mean,
So-
that gas station's like just known for being a big gas station.
I'm not complaining. I'm
No.
just showing.
Next one is fake friendliness, or friendliness that is perceived as kind of fake. I would say, again, this one's partially true. The people that are seen as loud are more likely to fit in this category, but it is true. Americans do like smiling a lot, do like complimenting, maybe a little bit overboard. And I don't think it's just totally fake. Like, I don't think in their head they think you're a terrible person, but they're lying out of their mouth. I think they just tend to kind of exaggerate their compliments. For instance, I saw a clip recently that went viral of a stream. It was an American girl hanging out with, I think, some German friends, and a waitress came and gave her something, and she was saying like, "Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. You're awesome."
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. It looks delicious.
So, is this like American like fake kindness or is it actual kindness? Like, oh my God, you're amazing. I don't even say this to like my best friend.
As an American, I tend to get a little tired of that as well, because it does come across as a little bit fake.
When you're working customer service jobs, you have to be like that. Like, all the managers tell you you have to greet every single person that walks in with a smile, ask them if they need help, which is normal, but at the same time, you have to like play it up. I feel like that's why people have those jobs and then they bring it into real life and still act like that. I will say I see some videos of people doing like my normal voice versus my restaurant voice, and it's completely different.
Next up, plastic Paddy. This one's kind of split. Some people seem to really get annoyed. Some people seem to not care. Obviously, for anybody that doesn't know, that just means people that have Irish heritage or Irish lineage and love to talk about it. I saw a lot of comments on Reddit. I've seen it on our comments. I've heard it in person when we were hanging out in Ireland. People
Yes.
seem to get annoyed. They're like, why do Americans care so much about telling us that their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather is Irish? And I saw Garen made a funny video where he's like, I find it hard to be impressed because everyone I know is Irish.
I am a little Irish too.
I am too. And this kind of goes into a broader point because we noticed at a bar, some pub friends we met that night, they had said, why do Americans care so much about that? And why do Americans care so much about breaking down their ethnicity or their background? And I think this all plays together. It's because America is a people, obviously, but I mean, before people came here, it was only like Native Americans and stuff. There's not like people like there is in Ireland. Like if you're from Ireland, there's thousands of years of history of Irish people. When you say I'm an American person, yes, it means you're from America, but we don't really have that same tie-in that like an Irish person has to the land. So an Irish person has, I'm ethnically Irish and nationality-wise, I'm Irish. America's nationality-wise, you're American, but what are you ethnically? For instance, I'm mainly Mexican and Irish. Like my dad's side is mainly Irish, going back, and my mom's side is mainly Mexican. You're...
On my mom's side, it's mainly Polish and some other stuff. On my dad, it's a bunch of stuff like Irish, Scottish, Mexican, Native American.
So that's why, it's because it doesn't really mean anything besides the region when you say I'm an American, because people kind of want to know more because there's so much diversity and so many different backgrounds with immigration, because that's kind of how the country came about. It was mostly European immigration for the longest time, and then recently, like within the past 60, 70 years, it's been more non-European immigration. So there's just so many different regions, cultures. So that's why we care. Because I remember at the pub, one of the guys, they called him Beans. They were calling him Beans for some reason. But he got a little bit annoyed with us. He's like, why do you guys care about breaking down where you're from? Like he said to me, he's like, you said you're somewhat Mexican, but do you even know any Spanish? And it's like, dude, it doesn't work like that here because you can still be ethnically something and not nationality-wise that. We've said in previous times and in previous videos, you guys have buildings older than our country, so it only makes sense that your guys' ethnicity is tied in with your nationality. Here, it's not like that, which I think that's the best way I can break it down. If you still don't understand from there, then I don't know what to tell you, but that's just why, because I mean, there's families that are German that moved here, Dutch, Irish, English, of course, were the main ones that founded it. And then, of course, the people that were here before were native tribe people. And then you have Mexicans, that it's a mix of Spaniards and the tribes in Mexico at the time, before it was called Mexico. So it's just a lot of different people. So you're going to have a lot of different backgrounds. It's not like we're just one country that can say, I'm American, and that means anything ethnically.
Yeah. With Joey saying, the guy asking him how much Spanish he knows, and then saying, well, basically saying like, well, then you're not really Mexican. My mom's side is pretty ethnically Polish. He asked me how much Polish I know. I don't know any Polish. That doesn't mean I'm not ethnically Polish. If I lived in Poland, I'd obviously know Polish. I live in America and I would never be using Polish here.
And we're also not fools enough to think that like we're the same exact makeup as the people from these places. Like I know I'm like a little bit Irish, but I'm not the same type of ethnically Irish as somebody from Ireland whose nationality and ethnic is from Ireland. Same with Lauren in Poland. But you do get your features and your culture and your family lineage. It's all downstream from where people immigrated from. So that's why. Also, I kind of had a little zinger on Beans that made the group laugh. I was like, well, Beans, how much Irish do you know? And he's like, well, I guess not really much.
The next one is how patriotic Americans are.
We did notice that Irish people are very patriotic as well. We like it because we're Americans, so we're very patriotic. As you can see, my cap, I wore this on purpose for this part of the video. That was another thing, baseball caps. Yes, that is something we like wearing. Yes, we are very patriotic. I think it's kind of a shared history with you guys where we wanted to get away from British rule. So, of course, to do that, you got to unite, kind of come together, raise your fists, and say we don't want to be under the British rule. A lot of our states are very patriotic in themselves too. California and Texas were both republics. Texas loves their flag. So we have patriotic states and then of course the country. So it's like Texans love Texas and they love America. Americans for the most part love America.
It is very unfortunate how a lot of Americans now see the American flag as bad or that you're supporting certain political groups. I just see it as our nation's flag. I'm American. I love the American flag. I think that's just unfortunate how people see that now.
A lot of controversy with that now. It is kind of unfortunate that it almost seems like the flag represents one political party, which, I mean, I think me and Lauren pretty much at this point feel politically homeless. We just like the flag because we like America. Next up, guns. Pretty true. Yeah, there's a lot of guns in the US, even if the states have kind of strict laws. So, of course, the stereotypes vary. Some people, like the people at the pub, thought that Americans kind of just use guns and shoot people all day, or people are just shooting all the time. It really depends on your region. I've said it in previous videos. Where there's a lot of shootings is the South, parts of LA, parts of New York, Chicago, and like Memphis. Different areas like that have tons of shootings. That's like where you're gonna have lots of shootings. Like Labor Day weekend for Chicago is one of the worst weekends of the year when it comes to gun violence. The other stuff is, of course, the convoluted mess of people arguing on whether they should be legal or not. Obviously, a lot of Americans are pro Second Amendment, and it's not because everybody wants to go around shooting each other. It's just because a lot of Americans, and I'd say us too, are kind of in the boat of, if we have so many weapons in our country, you kind of feel like you're doing yourself a disservice not having one if you can legally own it. You feel like you're doing yourself a disservice because you know that people who are gonna commit a crime are already gonna not care about committing the crime of obtaining a weapon illegally. So because there's already so many weapons in rotation, I just think it'd be very hard to get rid of them. That being said, although we are pretty pro Second Amendment for the most part, I don't like seeing people walking around with guns. I think it looks tacky. Not cops, but like just civilians.
I actually mentioned in one video that I've never seen somebody walking around with a gun besides cops. Never seen someone have it on their waist. I've never seen someone in public with one. And somebody commented saying, "You're lying. That's not true. You've definitely seen that." But for me, it's not. I lived in California all my life, basically. We just recently moved to Arizona. I've never seen that. I know people can have guns out. I know people can carry them on them, but me personally, I think it depends on where you live. I don't know, like that person basically called me a liar, which I wasn't lying. I wouldn't like seeing someone with a gun.
Various states have various different laws though, so a lot of the coastal states, it's harder to get a gun, it's harder to get permits. A lot of the more landlocked states, it's easier to get a gun. We live in Arizona, it's pretty easy. Just, it is kind of misconstrued, like the average American isn't going around shooting each other, so if people tend to believe that, that's not true. It is true that we obviously have gun violence, but like I said, it's in these concentrated areas like big cities and certain types of people, so it's the unfortunate part of it.
Anytime I've seen police, they always have it, so I think just us growing up around that, we're more used to it, and we're not as worried as other people who I've heard. A lot of Europeans I hear, they aren't around that.
They are scary if they're used in a scary way, obviously.
Obviously, if somebody came up to me and had a gun, I would be scared. For those of you who aren't in favor of guns, I think you'll agree with this one. Ignorance and stupidity.
I think partially true just because we're such a huge nation. You?
I would agree. I think it depends on the person. I think a lot of it is people say Americans don't know geography, don't know this, that. I think people are pretty average and pretty smart here. I do agree a lot of people don't know the geography and just stuff around the world, but I will say it's because America is so big, and I know people hate hearing that too, but it is true. America is gigantic. Texas is way bigger than Ireland. I think it's 8 times bigger.
And that's one state.
Yeah, out of 50.
The big thing isn't a cope to say like, oh, it's because of how big it is, even though that is true. It's more so, it's so big here that you can afford to not necessarily care about worldly events. Not saying that you shouldn't, but just giving you a reason why. Like, we still pay attention to worldly stuff, obviously, since we're more in tune with that as we like traveling. But it is very true. I mean, if you're some guy from Nebraska or something, I just said that because that's where some of my family's from. I don't know if you necessarily are ever going to care about what's going on in the Netherlands unless it's a huge topic that makes our news cycle. But really, you care about your city, your county, like local events, then your state, and then federal, the whole nation. And sometimes if it's a big conflict like the Ukraine stuff and the Israel stuff, then you'll start paying attention to worldly events. In most cases, a lot of Americans won't really look into like regional conflicts in Europe. And, you know, that is kind of ignorant, I guess, but I'm just trying to paint a picture of why even if you don't agree, that is the why.
We actually do have a lot of friends that have traveled a lot. Like, we have this friend from high school, he's been to Japan, Ireland. One of my friends, she's been to Egypt, Lebanon, some other countries. We have a friend right now that just went to Spain and she's in Portugal. So we do actually know a lot of people that travel a lot, but obviously there is a lot of people that don't travel, and I think mainly because they can't afford it.
On another point, the stupidity part, I do think that a lot of people tend to kind of mix up knowledge with smartness. Now, I think people that are knowledgeable tend to be a little smarter than people that aren't, but I do think there are a lot of people that know fun facts and little small things, and that doesn't necessarily make you smart. If someone browses Reddit all day and someone doesn't, the person browsing Reddit's probably gonna know more about little smaller things in life, or like little fun facts or little political events. But that doesn't mean the person that's not browsing Reddit isn't just as smart. It's just they don't know these like little knowledgeable bits. Of course, how much you can retain and how fast you can interpret things and how fast you can break things down, that's more in line with smart. But people just tend to conflate education or knowledge with smart, which is why I think a lot of people think that we're dumb over here for not knowing certain things. Like, if most Americans looked at worldly events more, I'm sure they would be more knowledgeable and they could retain the info as much as like the average European. Because at the end of the day, most Americans, especially ones that immigrated early, are European stock. Like, we come from Europe, our families on that side. Of course, then we mixed and have different regions. But a lot of people in America, like white people, are from Europe. So it doesn't really make sense why getting on a boat and traveling here would like make you stupid.
A lot of people also mention it's because Americans basically only know English, but I understand why we only know English. I don't really think it would make sense if we were to learn German or Polish or French. It would be cool because we'd know that language, but we would never ever use that here.
It would just be like a party trick.
The one that we would use here is Spanish. That would help a lot.
So I'd say partially true, just because we have so many people here. Yes, we have a lot of dumb people.
I would agree on some things. If you're talking about how people say Americans don't travel a lot, I wouldn't say that's ignorant, because I think a lot of them don't travel because they don't have money. I'm sure everyone would love to travel. I don't think that's necessarily ignorant. Other stuff, yeah, so I'd partially agree on certain things.
Yeah. Could Americans make more effort to learn about the world? For sure, because we have the internet and stuff. But I wouldn't say that like your average American like me or Lauren is way dumber than the average European. Another one that's controversial, but we had to bring it up: politics. The stereotype is kind of like Americans love politics and are very crazy when it comes to politics. And it's true. It's very crazy here in politics.
When the election was happening, oh my gosh, our whole neighborhood either had a Harris sign or a Trump sign. Everyone, so it's very political here.
Kind of wish that wasn't a thing, because then it makes people like super divisive.
Yeah, neighbors start fighting because they're like, you're for Trump, well, I'm for Harris, and then they get mad, and then the opposite. So I do think people should keep a little to themselves about their politics, like what they believe, because now it's just everywhere.
I've had conversations with my parents, your parents, and it kind of sucks because it seemed like back when they were growing up, yes, politics were still huge, but it didn't feel like as a 20-something-year-old you had to talk about it. Should you be interested in politics? I think for the most part you should, no matter how much you talk about it, just because it is good to know things about where your country's headed. But it does suck when you just want to have a peaceful day and somehow, because our politics are so ingrained with our culture and our commentary and like conversations, it gets brought up so often, or you'll see a sign or you'll see things, and people are so at each other's throats about it to the point where like people will defriend each other because the way people view it is, of course, you guys know, I'm sure you guys know in Ireland and have fights there too, but because it's very diverse here, people see certain parties as the anti-them party, or other people see this policy as the anti-them policy. Like I said earlier in the video, me and Lauren pretty much at this point feel politically homeless. We don't really think either party represents us. They both feel totally owned, and like they don't, like they're just selling out to donors.
I was thinking, I don't really like it just because Joey mentioned like people will defriend you right away. Not even if you make like a slight, not even like straight up saying like I voted for this person, I did this, but like just even mentioning something that they don't like at all, a lot of people will just not want to be your friend.
It's hard not to get caught up in that too. I've had my fair share of unadding people or getting in fights, which when I look back now, it's like, why the hell was I even doing that? Like, that didn't do anything. The politicians just said whatever they needed to say and got richer, and now it's like you just had a fight for no reason. Maybe there was a time in this country when the politicians actually cared about the country, but at this point it's just this big game to keep themselves in office and keep getting money from their donors and saying whatever they need to say. But it does suck how divisive it is. So yes, it is true that our politics are crazy, as you guys know, because a lot of you guys know about it.
On to the last stereotype, how career-driven Americans are. I would already say this is true. A lot of Americans are very career-driven.
I think it's true as well. To add on to that, it's not just career-driven, but obviously like our personalities are basically our careers a lot of the time. Like the two questions are, what's your name? And then what do you do? Meaning, what do you do for work? And we did see in Ireland and in Europe, it feels a lot more relaxed. Like jobs don't have as much sway over how you're viewed in society. Unfortunately, of course, that is more the case here. It does feel like you're a little bit more respected depending on your job title, depending on certain things. People do really care about what you do for work. What am I gonna do? How am I gonna move up the chain? Like this rat race, I need to get up. I need to make 10% more. I need to do this. And how am I gonna get to budget better if I don't get this raise or promotion? And very work heavy. Of course, now more people are calling it out.
We do have a friend that always talks to us about his work, and he's always wanting to move up and up. He's just like always wants to just go higher and higher, which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying everyone is always trying to get higher. People love working, and not in as I don't really know how to explain it, just not that. Some people really love working. Obviously, there's some that don't, but that still like working and getting higher.
I think the distinction is people that love working because they love work or their job versus the people that don't necessarily love it, but they think they need to keep going. That's when it gets bad, and we are losing a sense of morals and other things, and now we're just kind of praising this love of money, which gets really bad and really degenerate fast because people do really bad stuff for money. Money talks, so people will do whatever, and it gets to this point where it's like, you know, people they don't give a damn about loyalty, about friendship, about society, about having like communities. It's just this like insane pursuit of wealth to the point where they kind of just wall themselves off, and that's all they care about. Ending on a positive note though, we did read a lot of comments that said we love our American cousins, and we love you guys too. We love our Irish fans. We love everybody. You guys were awesome when we went, the people we met, and to this day you guys are very supportive and very awesome in our comments, and we really appreciate that.
If you like the video, like and subscribe. You can also share it. That would help us out a lot. You can become a member of our channel at $2.99 a month, become a part of the Passport Pals. We are going to be uploading a video to members only. We wanted it to be more of for the people that want to watch us instead of leave mean comments.
Yeah,
so
it's very personal.
Yeah, this is more of an experience we had in Nashville, so if you want to watch it, it would be for our members only.
With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.